How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be going over the step-by-step process I used to successfully diagnose a P0340 fault code. That fault is related to camshaft position, and if you have a code like that or similar on your vehicle, I'm going to be showing you the process I used to find and fix that fault. Okay, so first of all, a little bit of background information on the vehicle. It presented with two main faults. It had a long crank time, especially when left for a long period. It was between 5 and 7 seconds of a swing. Second is the power. So the power of the vehicle was considerably down, especially when you come to a stop and you go to take off again. The performance just wasn't there. As you tend to speed up, you were getting a little bit back, but it was very noticeable that you had a performance issue as well. So customer advised that to us. I checked it over, scanned, and I said the code already, which was P0340 was the fault code that was logged. Now, when you have this type of fault code, there is many ways you can just go for it straight away and try and diagnose it. I do always advise to use the scan tool and the live data to gather as much information as you can. On the test drive, I did have the live data open, and I'm looking at camshaft position, desired versus actual. So I'm looking at the desired, what they expect to see, versus the actual reading of what is happening. Now, in those parameters that we're looking at there, we can see that it's not doing anything. It's stagnant. It's staying the exact same. It's not getting a reading. So we know for sure that there's an issue that needs to be investigated. So with that test drive and checking on the live data, I already know by the time I get back to the workshop what tests I'm going to do. I'm going to head in the direction of the camshaft position sensor first and foremost. And this is a 3-wire camshaft position sensor, which means you're going to have a power, a ground, and a signal wire. A general rule of thumb is number 1 and 3 is power and ground, and number 2 is the signal wire. Now, I'm not going to say that's for every sensor out there, but as a general rule, that is usually how it is. In the case of this one, number 2 was the signal wire. So with the vehicle back in the workshop, there's a couple of quick checks that I want to do. Now, bear in mind with the footage I'm going to be overlaying, this is a real-time diagnostic job. There is a customer waiting for the vehicle, so all the images and captures aren't perfect. We're not in that position to be able to do that in every case. So I get my power probe, I check the power and the ground, I'm back probing on the electrical connectors. I use the snap-on scope to assess the signal, and I confirmed after that that the camshaft sensor was completely dead. It wasn't giving a signal like we were seeing on the live data earlier, and that sensor needed to be replaced. Now, there is times you can get away without using a scope. Unfortunately, a cam or a crank sensor is not really one of those. To be 100% sure that you have a failure, you really want to have a scope, especially with those intermittent faults that are very heat sensitive issues. Now, in this case, I have a scope, but I am going to include a clip right here of just checking voltages, power and grounds with a multimeter, back probing on a cam sensor on this Honda. So I'm just going to show you now how you can check the power, the ground, and the signal. Sensor is connected, back probed with those wires, and I'm just going to be using my multimeter and the battery to show you that check. So that's power. Next one should be ground. Yeah. And then lastly, this one should be the signal wire. So power, ground, signal. So after confirming the fault, I get a new sensor, I install it, and what you're seeing here is me checking to make sure that the signal has returned. You're going to be able to see that the Hall effect signal is back on the scope, and I also go to the live data and I just rev the engine while it's in the idle position, and this is the waveform that you would expect to see. I then cleared the codes and it was time for a test drive. I'm just on the final road test now with this vehicle. Engine light is off, code is not returned, and we also have proof that it's now generating a signal from that cam sensor. We've seen that on the lab scope. I also showed that the scan tool was picking up the desired range versus the actual, and those are now changing as well. So with all that information, I can comfortably give this back to the customer. Really hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it useful and informative. If you did, please like, share, comment and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.